Hello guys, my name is Trevor. Remember that budget gaming computer I built a little while ago? Well, I made it into an all-in-one. Oh god. Oh god. Yeah. So welcome to my lovely creation. Now you might be saying this seems a bit extreme, and you would indeed be right. It's also kind of falling apart as I speak. But I wanted to see how feasible it would be to create kind of my own all-in-one. As far as the feasibility level, hey, I did it and it's not half bad. It does work. Wasn't that hard. Practical? No. Safe? No. Light? No. So I guess there is no redeeming qualities about this, but it is cool. So this is rocking all the same specs as my budget gaming computer did, but let me go over kind of how I put this thing together. So I have a piece of wood that I found in my basement that was already painted, which was pretty cool. From there, I just took the motherboard and started tracing with like a little pencil the holes that hold the motherboard in, and I threaded using a little tap kit I have the screws into the wood for the standoffs. So I was able to screw everything in properly with the standoffs. The positioning of the motherboard is kind of important because you got to think about things like graphics card or anything that's going to weigh a little bit, because like the graphics card, I don't want to put excess stress on the actual PCI port. So I had to rig something up. I put a couple screws on the side of the wood. It seems to work. It's holding the graphics card up without putting too much strain on the motherboard. The power supply is the most difficult part. I have Velcro. I've tried double stick tape, but everything I put on it just ends up coming off. I think it's just because it's not sticking to neither the paint that's on the power supply real good or the wood, so something just keeps failing on me. I don't really have a great other way of kind of keeping it on. So that's the biggest weakness this thing has, is that it just keeps wanting to fall apart on me. Same with my mechanical hard drive. There's no issues with the SSD, that's stuck on no problem. But the mechanical hard drive, considering it's a big, heavy 2 terabyte hard drive that also gets very hot, it has fallen several times to the point where I'm fairly certain I've actually wrecked the hard drive. I was playing Grand Theft Auto the other day on this thing. All of a sudden I heard the tear of Velcro, and the hard drive fell out while I was playing, and since then Grand Theft Auto freezes up on me every time I try to launch it, so that's not good. Cabling's the other mess. There's no place to hide anything or do anything, so that's pretty unpractical. But one thing I'm very proud of, which you may be asking, well, is this really an all-in-one? It's really just a monitor strapped to a piece of wood with computer components strapped at the other side of the piece of wood. And though you would be right, you only have to plug one thing in, and that's the power supply. Now, I don't recommend anyone do this, but I actually took the power supply apart, which is violating the warranty of your power supply, so I don't recommend that. But I took it apart and soldered on the connection that goes with this monitor, essentially the regular outlet connection to the power button as well, so I'm able to provide power through the power supply to both the monitor here as well as the computer. And the cool part is I can use the same power button on the back of the power supply and it controls everything. I'm very happy with that modification. It was a little dangerous, a little sketchy. You definitely gotta be good at your soldering skills, so it's not something I recommend for everyone. You just gotta be careful messing with the power supply, because God forbid you drop one little dot of solder and it just happens to go on 2 different connections or 2 different solder points. You could really have a mess on your hands. Definitely wrecking components of your computer if there's any type of short, definitely killing your power supply, and or worse. You have a risk of even like explosion or fire when you really start messing with things. So 10 out of 10, do not recommend to do that, but I did it anyway. As far as this monitor, this is a really cheap, actually technically a TV. It's a Vizio television. It's actually a smart TV. I kind of chose it because of that. Because it has smart functionality, it has Wi-Fi built in, you can watch Netflix and Hulu and all those type of apps like that, so it's cool. Has speakers built in, which is going to be important for an all-in-one. Has HDMIs, which is running from the graphics card, so that's all nice. For a TV, it's fairly thin. Of course, there's thinner TVs, but for the price range, this was like an under $100 TV a couple of years ago. I thought it would work nicely. And then last but not least is the base of this all, which is essentially a piece of wood, a solid piece of wood with this like joist on it. This could have been better. I'm sure someone could make a better base, but from what I had laying around, I thought this worked fairly nicely. Essentially, just clamps up on the wood. What's kind of cool about this, for easy takeoff and take on and take off the base, I just have to loosen this up. But when it's tight, it's on there good. If the monitor is on a crooked surface, I can essentially just adjust it accordingly. So there's a adjustment this way that you may not have in other monitors. And theoretically, it can go up and down. However, this is pretty much as down as it can go. So for a lot of people, it's going to be too high unless you have a low desk. My radiator for my water cooling loop is up on the top, just kind of laying up here. I don't know where to screw that in, so it's just kind of laid up there. And then because the hard drive's fallen so many times, it's just laying up there as well. Again, not the best thing in the world, but I've given up on the hard drive at this point. I think I've broken that entirely. So let's talk about the pros for this setup. Good airflow, because there's no restrictions in airflow. I'm getting great temperatures on the CPU and GPU. It's very quiet, actually, especially since I've upgraded to the water cooling loop. I did have a regular stock cooler on the CPU for a little while in this setup. It was just way too loud, especially because there's nothing isolating the sound. Having the water cooling loop on here really does make a huge difference with that. I'm sure just having a good CPU cooler in general, it would make a huge difference with that. But so there's a benefit, and besides that, that's kind of where it ends. There is no great benefit of having it like this. I think I messed up in my my thought process behind here, and it's because this didn't originally plan on being this. I originally planned on just making a computer case where I took the piece of wood and mounted the hardware on both sides and then had it in some type of base. It was my dad who had the brilliant idea, you should mount a monitor to the other side and you have an all-in-one, which I actually think was a good idea. That's why I did it. However, this has its flaws. It's way too heavy, it's falling apart. I'm terrified that the graphics card is pulling too much weight on the motherboard and just gonna either ruin the graphics card or the motherboard. Even being a cheap build, I don't want to see hardware just get destroyed. And it's just impossible. I brought it to the studio this morning and it almost didn't make it. I had it literally seatbelted in the back of my car, and the thing's just so heavy, it just does not, it's not practical at all. I was trying to make a portable all-in-one, and this is anything but portable. Here's the deal. I need to make this better. I think I can, and I'm gonna have a revision 2 of this, which is going to be coming soon in a new video. Little sneak peek, revision 2 I think is gonna be same idea. I wanna have the monitor incorporated into the case. However, I'm just gonna take a regular computer case, drill some holes in it, mount the monitor to the side, and call it a day. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier, but I think that's gonna be the better idea here as I'm watching more Velcro fall off the power supply. So let me know what you guys think about my creation here. I did not get an A+ in art class. I think this probably shows why. But stay tuned, because I'm gonna do revision 2 of this, which I think will be a lot more practical, maybe something that you can actually do. But I'm thinking revision 2, if I can get everything enclosed into an actual case, but with my still power supply modification for power, I might have a much better kind of machine on my hands at that point. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if there's anything you want me to do with this before I transform it into something else, let me know as well. But until next time, guys, so long, and hopefully my power supply doesn't blow up. Ow. See you guys next time.